All right, thanks everyone. It's the April edition of the Project Governing Board of the OCA here in 2022. Um, as I was just saying earlier, I think it might be a shorter call today. We did get a number of folks who said that they were not going to be able to make the call, but we do have a couple of topics that um, I did that were important to cover on the agenda, and we also are going to have an update, I think, from Jane on some events that are coming up, and then also Ladrina had some topics that I think would be really good to cover as well. Just some clarity on some recent Oasis announcements for the group. So I'm not sure if you saw that email, chat or Jane. If so, I can, or actually Jane's not on the call. Maybe Dee's covering this. I'm not sure. Um,
I did see it. Jane Dee brought it to my attention, so I can just talk to some of it.
okay,
And I can talk to the other part of it.
okay.
Let me
Tag team,
ping
yeah.
Jane.
Um, all right. Thanks, Dee. Sorry, I had a little bit of. So just a quick update on what's going on some of the projects. Yeah, unfortunately, I was hoping that Duncan might be able to give a little bit of an update on pace because there's a lot of activity going on there, but he wasn't able to make it today. Um, he had to go to a last minute conflict. Um, Adam, I'm not sure. I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm not sure if you wanted to give that update since Duncan wasn't able to make it today. If not, no worries.
I thought you might do that actually. And to be honest, I haven't been able to prioritize participating, leading that group for the past few weeks, so I'm not completely up to speed. I know they're making progress on scope, and like architectural decisions, things like that, but there's no progress being made on actual design or code at this point, at least not in the project, right? Like I think some people might be out there doing it, waiting for the time when we're ready to accept that into the repository, but uh, we haven't gotten to that point yet. And that's about the only update I can provide.
All right. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, no, I guess my only comment is, despite, maybe we're a bit behind the code, but there is, a lot of activity happening in the project. A lot of
Totally agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's very exciting still. I think. Um, there's obviously a lot of interest in the project and its outcomes, so in terms of Stick Shifter, I don't have any major updates this week. I don't believe that any new connectors, or this month, I don't believe that any new connectors or anything have dropped. So nothing of significance, I think, to talk about per se. Um, I did have one other topic, and I see that Zhao Kui's here, which is actually fantastic. So we did invite Zhao Kui to the PGB going forward as the chair of the technical steering committee. Um, as part of that liaison relationship between the PGB and the TSC. So he's going to be here just to be able to communicate on behalf of the TSC up to the PGB on ongoing matters. So um, I'm not sure, Zhao Kui, if and well, Chet's here as well. I'm not sure who wants to cover the topic of um the MaxMind licensing thread that's been going on with Jamie. Um, did
Jacques, did you get the answers from Jamie? Because I saw your message today, and it looked like he answered it.
Let me see. I don't think I get a final answer from Jimmy yet for the topic. Let me see. So maybe do you have the message from Jimmy? I don't think I get the final email from Jimmy yet.
I don't have the last, so he hasn't replied back to your email, Zhao Kui, but I have his last update where he kind of just wanted to put it back to the PGB so that the PGB is aware. But I think just so I'll cover it really briefly and Chat Zhao Kui, jump in if you want to
Yeah,
make more
I'm
points.
looking at his note now. Yeah.
Yeah, so really quick, everybody. The question thread was around the Kestrel project is looking to make use of MaxMind's GeoLight 2 database, which is a free database, but the license is not one of the licenses allowed by Oasis Open Project, and it also doesn't completely meet the OSI definition of open source. So essentially, the way it would work is the project kind of has a reference to this database, reference to this license, but the code itself is not part of the project. So we wanted to make sure that Jamie was comfortable with that. Sounds like he is for the most part. We've got to close it off, but he seems comfortable with it. But he did just want to make sure that the PGB was aware that the project is going to be referencing this other project. And MaxMind's Geo IP database, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's basically a way to look up the country city code of IP addresses. So you give it an IP address and it'll tell you what country it's in, what city it's in. It's used for mapping. It'll give you latitude and longitude as well, although that's not completely accurate. But does anyone have any questions on that? Concerns?
If
What's
Jason,
going on
if I
there?
remember correctly, the outstanding question is whether or not the sandbox, the Kestrel sandbox, can copy it down safely. And I think Jamie's comfortable with that, but I made a note to myself to follow up on that specific point.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And let me give a little bit background of it, and also take this time as maybe a part to update something on Kestrel as well. So the first month or 2 months for Kestrel, we have two big improvements. One is we have a new interface for analytics, the Python analytics interface that we can call to Python natively without a Docker, which makes a lot of things much easier. For example, we implement the binder interface for Kestrel now, so that people can spin up a cloud sandbox of Kestrel in the cloud by just a click. They do not need to install Kestrel now to set up things to try it. So that's the binder service we currently have for Kestrel. And to demo people the different type of things, we have a tutorial that can be executed in the binder sandbox of Kestrel, so that after people click the link, they will be taken to a tutorial site with 9 different handbooks. They can execute, they can edit, they can try to play with it. And one of them is talking about analytics and give them some examples of analytics. And there is one analytics we give as example is the ping IP one, so that, sorry. So that's if they have some network traffic, we provide them some sample data there. They can use analytics that internally utilize the MaxMind DB, the GeoLight 2 DB, to get the city name of the IP address and show them on a map interactively. They can try to zoom in, zoom out, and things. So if they do not use it in the sandbox, we just let the user download it by themselves. So there's no conflict about any license there. So that's in the repository we have, the analytics repository, we write it down very clearly. They need to download that DB from MaxMind. However, with the sandbox Kestrel environment to let people have a try by a click, we need to set up the sandbox environment for the users. And in this case, we need to retrieve a copy of the GeoLight DB in the sandbox environment so that people can try it without downloading it from MaxMind. So that because this is a sandbox in the cloud, they cannot just download and push it while they're setting up. So that's a question comes that the plan is we may want to make a copy of the GeoLight DB, which is under kind of a revised CC by kind of a license to distribute in a data kind of a bucket repository of Kestrel, so that then the setup script of the sandbox can retrieve that redistributed GeoLight to DB to the sandbox environment for people to try. That's the basic idea. So the discussion for the license here is whether after reading the revised CC license for Maxmind, it allows us to do this type of thing. Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot more detailed. So fantastic. You know, if anyone has any questions or concerns, you know, what does this mean? You know, I'd suggest, you know, just send an email out, or if you want to be more involved, if you want to be looped into the conversation with Jamie and Chet, you know, just let us know, and we can make that happen. So okay.
Jason, real quick, can you let Jane in the meeting, please?
I did. She's here, I think.
I'm here now, thanks.
Oh, good. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So the next topic that I had was an update on this liaison relationship we've been exploring with the nonprofit cybersecurity coalition. So I know that the governing board discussed this last month when I couldn't attend the call. And since then, you know, there's been a bunch of emails to formalize that. I'm just, Chet, is that something you'd be able to give an update on what?
Yeah. Real quickly, Scott signed and returned the agreement and the application on March 31st. Phil, hang on a second. Let me just. Phil Reitinger from Global Cybersecurity Alliance acknowledged it, and then Jamie pointed out that the proposed initial representatives are you and Mark, the chairs. You're free to change that at any time, but we did need to submit proposed liaison representatives on the application. So you guys just got ponied up. So it's now in your hands to follow up with Phil and the folks over there and arrange how you want to get involved with them.
Okay, fantastic. So it sounds like all the boxes are checked and we just need to reach out and engage and find out like what you know, what they're doing.
Right,
Get
exactly.
involved in what they're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe they're just going to stick our logo on a slide somewhere and that's the end of that. So who knows, but you guys can find out.
All right. Thanks, Chet.
Yep.
Anyone have
Jason,
any questions on that?
Jason, just let me circle back and make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row with final signatures.
Okay.
D you
Phil.
do. Scott signed and sent.
No, for Phil. They have to sign it too.
Got Phil's back. Oh, yeah, right.
Okay. Will you let me know, Jane?
It's D.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry, D.
You're not the first person who's made that mistake.
Sorry.
And I'm sure you won't be the last. Hey, it's not a bad person to be confused with. Compliment.
All right. So those were the two main topics I had, and then Jane requested some time to update on a bunch of the upcoming events that are going on. So I'll give the floor over to Jane for a minute for that, and then it sounds like Forrest has an update on ontology and a new SAIC rep. So we'll give the floor to Jane, then we'll give it to Forrest, and then we'll dig in on Ladrina's questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. We have some exciting stuff coming down the pike. One OCA related event within April, May, and June. So a couple things. So next week we have the SC Media Kestrel presentation. I know you probably already mentioned it before I got on the call. That'll take place on the 13th, which is Wednesday the 13th at 2:30. I am going to send a recap to the OCA lists, Slack lists, and the email lists of all the upcoming events, just so everybody has all the links. The one next week on Kestrel is free to attend. You just sign up. I'll send the link through, and it's actually a 2-day event, but the Kestrel presentation is on that Wednesday at 2:30. And thanks so much for all the help on organizing that. That was not an easy one to sneak through SC Media, so that was wonderful. In May, Jason, and I forgot who else. There's another a PGB rep.
Matthias from Tenzier.
Okay, wonderful. We'll be presenting in person, I believe, right, Jason, at in
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
In Brussels.
In Brussels at the International Conference on the EU Cybersecurity Act. So that's pretty exciting. We do have a 20% discount for members for that. I'll send the code along with the other information and the link directly to that. The presentation on OCA is Wednesday, the 25th of May. And I'll send all the links so that everybody can see that information behind all of that. So, and OCA is also sponsoring that event through a marketing barter. So you'll see the OCA logo on the event as well. So that's all fun. Jason, I will send you OCA stickers next week to your house, and hopefully you'll be able to distribute some of those laptop stickers while you're there. And then finally, we have June. There's a couple things. I know that some of the OCA members, I believe at least PACE project will be noted in the cybersecurity automation workshop. Duncan Sparrow is spearheading that particular event. We've offered some assistance as needed. So I'll send the links to all of that. That is on June 2nd. And it is going to be held in the DC area. There'll also be a virtual aspect to it as well for those that can't attend in person. And then finally, we have our RSA OCA breakfast. We just put the finishing touches on the registration page for that. So I will circulate that link to everyone so that anyone who's going to be at RSA from the PGB, we very much want to have you all there to be able to talk to folks that will be invited. And then also you'll be able to invite folks. So we'll send some information about that in this note that's going to be going out to the community. We also, don't forget, if you're attending RSA, we do have $150 discount rate. There is a code associated with that. So I'll circulate that information as well. So lots going on. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Any questions about what's coming down? Oh, I did forget to just mention one other thing. Black Hat. We were not able to rally an OCA specific presentation. I know, Jason, you had mentioned that you already submitted a presentation that will mention OCA on behalf of you and IBM. We are working on a marketing barter. I have a meeting with the Black Hat folks on Monday to hopefully finalize that. Our goal is to have some sort of physical presence at the event through a table space or something of that nature for other partners that they have that are nonprofits, which we will, of course, promote OCA and some of the other open projects and standards that we have. So I know it was a lot to digest.
Where are we with the agenda or topics for the RSA breakfast?
So I'll let Dee chime in after, but I believe how we discussed the flow in the marketing meeting was that there would be a presentation up front that would sort of do an overview of everything. And then we would break out into tables where you could talk about the different initiatives. So whether that be all of the initiatives or just some of the new ones that we have, we can decide that. But we definitely need some OCA representatives there that are willing to sit at those tables, answer those, the questions about those initiatives and so forth and so on. So in the registration form, what I intend to do is ask the question, do you have a particular interest in a certain OCA project? That way we can determine, who has an interest in Kestrel, who has an interest in PACE. So we'll at least be able to determine and then base our breakout tables to that effect. So, and Dee, I don't know if I forgot anything. That's the current plan anyway?
No, I think that's what we talked about, right, Matthew?
Sounds logical. Was it 2 hours? Or what is the?
I mean, we have the room for 2 hours. We had the start time at 8, and then 9:30, I think, is when we're transitioning out.
Okay.
Now we do need to decide from collectively, and I think it would be great if the PGB could make that determination, who will be the representative that will do that sort of overview presentation. And then also, just to find out who from, the group will be on site. Dee will be there to help and support. So we'll just, I guess in the next few weeks, we'll figure that all out.
So I know I haven't been able to attend any of these marketing meetings talking about the breakfast, but like one thing I'd suggest is even if we don't have the topics finalized or anything yet, we should really try to get, I think, the invite out soon, because people will be it's only 2 months away. People will be starting to plan their week, right? And there will be multiple asks for people's time, multiple different breakfasts they could sign up for. So getting out earlier is better, I guess, is just what I'm saying.
Yeah, we have this the registration page ready to go. I'm just waiting on, I didn't receive the name of the room for the Hilton, but I do have everything up and ready. And our goal was to start sending that link out no later than tomorrow.
Oh, okay, fantastic. It's perfect. Okay.
Oh, yeah, actually, you know what, I can put it in the chat, the preliminary website, and if anyone has any comments or if we need to beef it up in any way, I'll put this in the chat right now.
All right. Any other questions for Jane from anybody?
I know there's lots going on. I'll recap it through email and thanks to everyone who's really been there to support these efforts. I know it's not easy, and I know everybody has their day jobs, but it's great that we're getting the word out. So.
Yeah, and thanks to other members of your teams and who might be. I did just want to, before we move on to Forrest, just really quick on one of those things that Jane quickly mentioned, this Interop Plug Fest that is being organized. If your organization has any tools, they don't have to be open source, by the way. So any tools or tooling that you're working on or have in production or dev, whatever, that use any of the Oasis cybersecurity standards, Sticks, Taxi, Cacao, the OCA projects like Stick Shifter, Kestrel, etc. So all of these things are going to be part of that event. And yeah, it's a great opportunity to try to, test things that might be under development or test even things that you're already delivering to your customers and just make sure they interoperate the way that you expect them to. So just wanted to give a little plug for that, that you might want to take that back to your engineering teams. Okay, quickly. So Forrest, you've got the floor. sounds like so you have an update on ontology, and also sounds like there might be an SAIC update.
There is. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes. So I am beginning the long and arduous process of sitting out on my own. Summit Knowledge Solutions is coming up shortly. Well, it actually already exists, but transition is happening shortly. And so as such, obviously I can't represent SAIC, even though I'm going to be a sub to SAIC in some cases. I can't represent them here, obviously. So we've had a discussion internally at SAIC, and I would like to introduce Rich Nelson, who is on the call today. He is going to be the new SAIC rep to the PGB. Rich, do you want to just say howdy? I know I didn't tell you you need to do that today, but since you're on the line.
Yeah. Afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
No.
Yep.
We can.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Good to meet you, Rich.
No response, so I didn't know if I was coming to it all or not.
Rich is joining us.
Nice
Oh,
to
go
meet you.
ahead.
No, I was on mute earlier, so I was just saying hi. Go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, Rich is joining us from Charleston area, Carolina, and he's been with SCIC for actually longer than I have. And he's got a new position. Can you remind me what your new title is there?
It changes day to day. It's
FT
pre-sales engineering, I think now, something like that.
pre-sales engineer. Yeah, lead for pre-sales engineer for SCIC. So I'm in the process of spinning him up. I'm still working on a pass down log and everything for him. He does not have the ontology background that I have, so it's probably not the right shift for him to take on that project lead. I'd actually be happy to figure out, I guess since we got Dee and Jane on the call, it's helpful, how to still support the project. With my new hat on, I'm not going to be signing up as a paying sponsor. I don't think, at least not for the near future. So we'll have to figure out how what role I can or cannot play at that point. But in the short term, the project is, and I'm drafting an email, and I'll be with SAIC for another week or two at least as we do transition here. But I'm drafting an email right now to call out for solicit some help. What we need is some examples of some data files and the actual data elements contained therein that are exemplary of the use case that we're using in the architecture working group, and that we're also then using the model with the ontology effort. And then that use case is we're going to kind of compare a couple of different ontology efforts in the field, like the UCO that MITRE and others have worked on, the work that our cyber threat folks have done. Ryan has been working on actually under OASIS umbrella. And so we're gonna use that use case to show how we would map all of these different components together. And so we really need some example data because we have to get to that level for it to be relevant. So I'm going to send an email out specifically for the endpoint vendors on the team who would have like endpoint security software that would go and scrub files, and they would find these signatures and then say, oh, these are malicious. That's an indication of a malicious file, and then send that off to the SIEM, that type of stuff. So that's what we're looking for, and you'll see an email from me shortly on that. And once we get that data in there, we're going to put together, like I said, compare how it would be modeled based on our structure and the UCO/DC3 Defense Cybercrime Center structure, and go from there. It's kind of like I wouldn't say it's a bake-off, but it's a way to compare the efforts and figure out where we might want to be able to borrow from each other's work. But we have to have like an apples-to-apples comparison to do that, and for that, we really require some example data. So like I said, an email will be coming out on that soon, and I'll try and keep pressing ahead on that in the next couple of weeks, and we'll figure out what we'll do from there. Any questions for me based on that?
Lot to digest there for. So just a quick, so on the, you staying involved in the project, right? So, check and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there should be no problem with that whatsoever. That's one of the benefits. That's one of the ways that, the OCA is structured. You don't have to be paying member to contribute to or even lead a project. You won't be able to attend these calls, the governing board,
Right.
but there's nothing stopping you from continuing, and I would, love if you have the ability to continue leading that project.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly
I'll try
right.
to do that. I'm not sure about leading it, but for the time being, I can certainly keep doing it. And Ian is probably not the right person to lead it either. He's kind of a junior guy at SCIC, and he's doing this kind of like on time available. If some of his DHS work might pop up, the supporting DHS, he might not have much time. So, but I don't know if Adam or Mark or others maybe want to, because I know Mark was the one who actually was thinking about taking it on earlier. But so we'll talk in the team that's been supporting it. I've already let Russ know in the architecture work group because we just had a meeting yesterday. So we'll figure something out.
All right. Well, Forrest, yeah, it's you've been an amazing supporter contributor over the years for the OCA. So, sorry to see you go, but best of
Thanks.
luck. Best of luck in everything you're doing there. And yeah, I mean, like I say, it is an open organization, so hopefully we'll still see you around.
Yeah,
So
my OCA work and and this type of stuff had nothing to do with the decision. It was all about other stuff. This just kind of became a collateral. I don't know if you want to say collateral damage, but cascading effect of the decision. So I'm glad Rich has agreed to step up. So probably find just as much, if not better, support from Rich. He's more organized than I am.
So Rich, if you could send us your email address and your contact information so that we can get you, follow up with you and get you into the system to get you on the PGB list, that'd be good.
Okay, we'll do, sir.
Hey, Forrest, congratulations on your new move, and Rich, welcome. Looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Pleasure to be here.
All right, I think that's all I had.
All right. Thanks, Forrest. All right. So the last main topic today is the one that Ladrina raised just earlier before the call. She had some questions about some recent Oasis announcements. So there was two different announcements. One of them was about new options that Oasis Open projects have for funding, and that would include the OCA. And the other was about an announcement of a new open project that was spinning up. So I'm not sure, Dee, I think you said that you wanted to cover one of those or both of them, or?
Sure. I can go first. I can talk about the new levels that we've introduced. So we're changing what we're calling things, and we've introduced a new level with some new benefits. The first one is a premier sponsorship for open projects, and the annual dues for that level is $60,000. There are some additional benefits, and I can put the link into the benefits there. We could go through those one by one if you're interested. The thing that is really interesting about that particular level is at that level, you will have the ability to allocate $20,000 that can specifically be applied to funding for the open project. Of course, the PGB would have to approve that expenditure, but obviously if it benefits the project, then it would be something that would be great for the open project. We are expanding the Oasis Foundational sponsor level, and that's dues of $70,000. That's for members that are involved in multiple projects within Oasis, technical committees, technical advisory groups, multiple open projects. So if you do the math and you're involved in a couple different open projects, then it actually is a really great, a great rate to be able to be involved in those, and then also indicate some allocation for an open project. So those are the new levels.
Awesome, Dee, for explaining that. I really appreciate that you went into it for a couple of reasons. One, because it seemed like a pretty big announcement to make on the list, and I didn't see any follow-up either on the list or in our Slack space or otherwise on this agenda. So that's super exciting. I look forward to hearing how that grows. Also, just in the meeting time, as I was thinking about bringing this topic up, one of the questions I had, I realized that Carol provided, and I guess it's not in the fine print, but it's, you know, one of the last lines of the email, which says general sponsors and current benefits and dues are unchanged, which is one of the questions I had for how does, you know, Cyber Reasons participation, if we want to stay at the level we're at, go forward. So I answered one of my own questions in preparation for this session, but I also wanted to verbally say that in case other people missed that line item as well.
Yes, that's correct. Benefits and dues based on, you know, the size of the company. You guys are growing like crazy, so that might be something that will affect your dues. But, you know, other than that, everything remains the same.
Great. Thank you for taking that.
No worries.
Yeah, the main point with the new levels is that there's this new opportunity that didn't exist before, where say you can come in and basically contribute more to the project and then dedicate some of that funding to things like, you know, we could get the premium Slack instance. I know that last week or the week before we hit our message retention cap, and I had some people pinging me about that, like, what does this mean, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's what it means, right? We're going to start losing old messages because we're on the free tier. So essentially, you know, this is an example of something that can go towards. It can go towards events, like all kinds of different things, and then you get recognized for that. You would have this premier tier. So the other item that oh, well, actually, does anyone else have any other questions on that before we go to the other item? All right, if you have more questions on that, you know, feel free to follow up with Dee or Carol on you know, the benefits of upgrading to that if it's something you're interested in. So the last item that Ladrina was asking about was the new PRVD open project and what that entails and is all about. So
yeah, so yeah, I'll take that one. So Ladrina, I don't know if you had a specific question about that proposal. What that is it's a new open project separate from OCA that that a group is proposing to start. Their intent, they've developed a reference implementation for the baseline protocol, and they're proposing to contribute that code into an open project and give it open community management. So it's a separate initiative, and we put it out. We put the charter up for a public comment period because we had people coming to us with questions. So we said, well, okay, let's put the charter up where everybody can see it, and then people can pose questions if they have them. And so that's what that particular message was the announcement to everybody that you know, that this project was preparing to start, and to feel free to ask questions or post comments on the charter on that mailing list. So does that cover it, or did you have a specific question about it?
Thanks, Chet. That's super helpful. I appreciate just hearing this is what it is. And I think my additional question is, I know that there's a comment period that's open. It looks like it ends later today, so a couple more hours. I'm just curious, big picture, high level, what are the next steps after that comment period closes later today?
Right. So the next steps are I'm going going to take all of the comments that have been received and plug them into a spreadsheet for a comment resolution log, and then schedule a call with the proposers to walk through those questions and decide what they're going to do with response to them, and then you know, add their you know, the TC agrees to the change, or you know, the TC will, you know, the project, you know, will address it this way or that way or the other way, but to put together a comment resolution log saying, thanks for the comment, we reviewed it, here's what we propose to do with it, and then that will be sent back to the list as for public consumption, so that the results of the questions, the answers, are provided back to the proposers and anyone else who's interested in reading about it. Then we'll be scheduling, I'm not sure if we're scheduling a general webinar session to, we did one of those already. So I think the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to organize, seek additional sponsors to join the project, and then organize the first meeting to kick off the work.
Awesome. So kind of like a, you know, standard comment period, all the comments get reconciled, and then there's basically more stuff that happens before everything officially kicks off, which I'll say I'm in support of the project. You know, you've got a good mission, you've got a good team. I just wasn't quite sure if there's some switch that happens at midnight GMT tonight, or what goes on after that. So thanks for going into it.
Yeah, no, the midnight GMP was not some magical number. It was just, I'm going to keep this comment period open for 2 weeks, which is the way I usually do it.
Great. And by the way, do you have comments? Have people been sending them over, or
yeah, we do.
TBD?
Yeah, nice. No, we've got comments on the archive. If you go to the archive, you'll see there's several comments. Nothing that's really sort of jaw-dropping or earth-shattering or anything, but yeah, there's 5 or 6 comments there.
Awesome. So no need to, you know, do a big blast of, hey folks who this hasn't been on your radar before, go check this out in the final hour. Like you'll already have some good feedback.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you, Chet.
You're welcome.
All good from other questions I had over here.
Thanks, Ladrina. And Dee's pointing out something important in the chat there as well. So there's another open project that's coming to Oasis, and this is actually
good point,
relevant to the OCA as well. I'd argue a little bit more relevant than the baseline related projects. So so NEAM, which is the federal data model standard. I mean, Forrest can explain this better than I can what NEAM is, but it's kind of like all things that exist and how to map them in an ontology. There is a cybersecurity subsection of NEAM that's currently stewarded by CISA. And this is
not quite.
You know,
yes. Can I interrupt you there quick before we get
go
people burn their brain?
Yeah.
It's a National Information Exchange Model. So all it does is standardizing data formats for generalized information exchange between dissimilar platforms. So it is, and I specify that because it's not an ontology, and it's actually, they'd have a hard time actually making a coherent ontology from it based on the way that they did it, because they kind of did it by committee. And so there's a bunch of gaps in logic in it, but that's what it is. It's an information exchange model for data formatting and some degrees of the definitions of that data. But like how they specifically, how one portion of data relates to another, it's limited in that fashion. So just to specify that, sorry. But you're right, though, it is all sorts of different domains. So it's done, you know, there is a cybersecurity domain portion and that's a meeting that I've been trying to get together with the DHS, and and us was specifically with the office that was leading that, and I was singularly unsuccessful at getting them to meet with us. So, sorry. Maybe this will fix that.
Thank you, Forrest, for clarifying that. And I mean, I think this is kind of the interesting piece of this, right? So now that this is coming over as an Oasis project, those meetings will be open. There will be regular meetings just like we have, and it should be a lot easier to build some of these bridges between the cyber portion of NEAM and what we're trying to do.
And we'll be happy. We will be happy to help try and set something up if it's useful.
Yeah. So that that could be
absolutely.
really yeah. So that could get really interesting, you know, because as that comes over to an open project, you know, it'll be interesting how that evolves, because I've got to think that the idea that DHS is going to continue to own this piece, I mean, it's like not really, right? So it's
No, they're the only parts that aren't coming over are the Department of Defense related pieces that have to be done behind closed doors for, you know, obvious reasons. Those equally obviously can't come over as part of this open project, but the rest, it's going to be an open project run just like this one. You know, it's going to mirror the structure. Their current executive committee is going to become the project governing board. The current overseeing groups for the sort of two separate verticals, the business group where they've got the verticals for the vocabularies, and the technical group. Those are going to become TSCs, and it's going to run like an open project. You know, people can come participate the way they come participate now, and people who want to join as sponsors and have a seat on the project governing board can do so. They're putting this thing really forward for you know, for community, you know, for transformation to a public community.
yeah, so that'll be an interesting dialogue to have over time, right? Like, how can we contribute to that cyber piece of NEAM? And maybe there's like some kind of joint initiative here so that it's, you know, we're working on one thing instead of just two things with the translation, right? Could be exciting. All right. Does anyone have any other last minute items or comments? If not, we can give a couple minutes back this month.
All good here. Thank you.
All good here. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for taking an hour, and we will reconvene in May. And Rich, you know, great to have you on board. And not sure if you're in the Slack instance and everything yet. If not, you know, I'll keep my eyes out for you there.
Haven't been plugged in yet. I'm sure Forrest will take care of that before he takes off. But definitely looking forward to getting to know y'all and working together with you. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and Rich is going to run into the same Slack and Google Docs problems that I did, because he's on the same SAIC enterprise that I am. Just so you know.
Right.
So we'll talk about it, Rich.
Thank you, Forrest. That's correct. I am on the same.
It's all blocked. All that stuff is blocked by SAIC.
Well, it's useful. That's why. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
See you all in May, and also a good time, I'm saying this out loud to remind myself, to check for our May meeting on May 5th, the calendar issue we talked about last week.
Are the meetings, is there an issue, Ladrina? Are you not getting them all, or?
Yeah, it was, I know, Jason, you fixed or did something to edit the meeting invite you had sent out, but I still had a very odd recurrence to them. So I had to make my own recurring meeting. on my calendar. I'm not sure if anybody else got the recurring one from Jason.
Okay, well that would be problematic. I guess we should I should send out a question to ask if everybody's got them in their calendar correctly. I'm happy to, what in the past, Ladrina, we were having so many problems with this in the past that I actually just sent one out from my IBM email. And I'm happy to do that if a lot of people have problems. But Chad, is that something you could help follow up on, or
yeah.
Okay. Or maybe when Claudia gets back, just let her know that we're still having those problems.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll follow up on it.
Okay.
Right.
Ladrina, I just looked at the group's IO calendar and I think we got that cleaned up.
Okay, I can double check there.
I do see it in May 5th.
Right.
But
I think we fixed that before you went away, if I remember, and it looks like it's right for going forward. So June is right.
Okay, I can look at that and download it into my calendar. That it could be that that's all the fix I need.
Well, I think it is, but Jason, if you could confirm.
Or why don't you try it and then let us know if you're still having a problem.
I see it on the website, so it's not in my calendar, but I know why that is. It's because of my Outlook. It doesn't know anything. I have a different problem that I'm trying to figure out. But,
yeah, I was trying to figure out if this was limited to me or not, but let me try that. I'll send an update later in Slack to see if that fixes it.
Yeah, I have I don't know if you're got the same problem I do, Ladrina, but I tried to add this to Outlook and it looks like it works on the web, but it doesn't work on my desktop Outlook client, and I have no clue why. It's some kind of if I log into outlook.com, it's there, but it's not in my local Mac version, and I don't know, it looks like some kind of Outlook problem, but anyway. All right, we will get that sorted out for sure. Anyway, thank you everyone for taking the time, and we'll see you all next month.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody.
Talk in May.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.